One morning, I woke up to find the ocean at my doorstep, and I don't live anywhere near the sea. At first, I thought it was just a freak flood, a broken dam maybe. But when I turned on the news, every channel screamed the same impossible headline: Antarctica has melted, all of it. Within hours, the world had tilted on its axis, literally and metaphorically. I watched the water creep over streets, swallowing sidewalks, rushing into subways like veins flooding with panic. Coastal cities were already gone. New York, underwater, London, drowned, Manila, disappeared into the Pacific. Over 200 feet of sea level rise, enough to redraw the entire map of Earth in the time it takes to boil a kettle. I couldn't stop shaking, not from the cold, but from the silence that followed. It wasn't the wind or the waves that scared me. It was the absence of birdsong, the hum of cars, the chatter of life. Entire neighborhoods turned into ghost towns overnight. The scent of salt water and rotting debris filled the air, clinging to my skin, making every breath feel like it carried grief. We thought we had time. We thought the ice would melt over centuries, not collapse in one cataclysmic wave. Scientists called it a cascade failure, a tipping point triggered by warming oceans, destabilized glaciers, and the sudden release of ancient water trapped for millions of years. Once the Thwaites Glacier went, the rest followed like dominoes. I remember standing on the roof of my apartment building, watching boats drift past what used to be an intersection. Someone was paddling in a bathtub. A child cried. A siren wailed in the distance, then stopped. Everything felt surreal, like I was stuck inside a dream that wouldn't end. Or maybe it already had. But what no one warned us about, what truly unhinged the world, was the heat. Without that massive ice cap reflecting sunlight, Earth's temperature skyrocketed. It wasn't just rising water. It was rising fire. Crops failed. Forests ignited. Storms churned with a vengeance I've never seen. Food became a currency. Water, a myth. People moved inland, uphill, anywhere they could. I watched the rich flee in private jets, while the rest of us were left behind to face a reality that felt more like punishment than science. Borders closed, governments fractured. I used to think apocalypse meant fire and brimstone. Turns out it smells like salt and silence. Sometimes I think about the penguins, the whales, the ancient creatures that once thrived under the frozen silence of Antarctica. Gone now, or dying fast. Extinction is no longer a whisper from the future. It's the soundtrack of now. I never imagined I'd miss snow, that I'd crave the crackle of frost beneath my boots, the way ice crystals would catch the morning light like tiny stars. Now, the only stars I see are the ones flickering through smoke at night, when I try to sleep and remember what Earth used to be. And yet, somehow, we keep going. Not because we believe things will get better, but because stopping feels like surrender. I plant whatever seeds I can find. I filter rain when it falls. I write, not because there's anyone left to read, but because stories are the only things that haven't drowned. Maybe someday someone will find these words and know what we lost. Maybe they'll rebuild on higher ground. Or maybe this was always the price of forgetting that ice has a memory, and we were never meant to melt it. The nights are the hardest, not because of the dark, but because of what the dark reminds me of. Silence used to be peaceful. Now it's a void. No engines, no laughter, no hum of electricity, just the occasional groan of a collapsing building or the distant crash of waves reshaping the land. I lie awake listening to the world rearrange itself. It's rebuilding, in its own violent, indifferent way. I think about how arrogant we were, how we built entire civilizations on the edge of oceans, pretending water couldn't rise. We were warned again and again, but warnings are easy to ignore when the sky looks blue and the ice seems eternal. I used to scroll past climate articles thinking, not in my lifetime, well, here we are. I remember my mother's voice. She used to say, "The Earth doesn't need saving, we do." It didn't make sense to me then, but now I get it. The planet is surviving, changing, evolving. It's we who are struggling to stay relevant, to stay alive. Every day, I walk farther inland. I map the new world with my feet, measuring distance by what's been lost. Cities turned into lakes, airports into reefs. I found the rusted tail of a jetliner poking out of the water once, like a fossil from a different age. Sometimes I meet others, survivors. We don't talk much. We don't need to. Our eyes say everything. We share warmth, stories, food when we can. It's strange how fast society unravels, and yet how quickly new tribes form. Not based on money or politics, but trust. I used to dream of skyscrapers. Now I dream of hills. Solid ground. A place where the ocean hasn't reached and the sky still smells of trees. Maybe it's somewhere out there. Maybe we'll find it. Or maybe we'll build it. I carry a journal. It's soaked, stained, falling apart, but it's all I have left of the world that was. I write names of the fallen, draw maps of the submerged. I write for the ones who won't be remembered. I write so that even if the world forgets us, the earth won't. This isn't just about ice. It's about memory, consequence, and survival. It's about learning, too late, that we were never separate from the earth. We are it. And when we wounded it, we were only cutting into ourselves. Still, I believe there's a future, not the one we planned, not the shining towers or digital dreams, but something raw, real, rooted. A future that listens more than it speaks, that heals more than it consumes. If I ever reach that place, where the ground is dry, the air is clean, and the trees whisper instead of scream, I'll plant something, not just for food, for hope, for memory, for all that melted away and all that might still grow again. Because even now, after everything, I believe in beginnings. This morning, I saw something I hadn't seen in months, a bird, a single fragile thing with dust-covered feathers, fluttering between the ruins of what used to be a radio tower. I stood frozen, heart pounding like it was the first sign of life I'd ever known. It didn't sing, it just looked at me. But in that glance, something broke open inside me, a reminder that not all beauty was lost. Not yet. It's strange how the smallest things can feel like miracles when the world has forgotten softness. I sat for hours beneath that rusted tower, just watching the sky. It was clouded, streaked with the gray smoke of distant fires, but behind it, there was blue. A sliver, barely a breath of color, but real. I think that's what hope looks like now. Not promises or speeches, just slivers. Sometimes I wonder what the children of this new world will know of the old one. Will they believe there were cities made of glass? Will they laugh at stories of ice that stretched for miles, of polar nights and glowing auroras? Or will those become myths, like Atlantis or Eden, tales of a paradise undone by its own creators? I walk past drowned billboards and collapsed bridges, and I can almost hear their echoes. Buy more, build bigger, be faster. It's haunting how loud those messages were, and how quickly they went silent when the water came. Now, everything we thought was permanent lies beneath the waves, but the earth is still here, scarred, yes, shifting, but alive, and so am I. Every night I light a fire, not just for warmth, but ritual, a flickering pulse in a world trying to remember its own heartbeat. I whisper names into the flames, friends, family, strangers I passed in the chaos. Maybe they can hear me. Maybe memory itself is sacred now. I've started building something, a small shelter on a hill I found days ago. It's not much, just wood, stone, and stubbornness, but it's mine. And maybe that's all anyone needs, a place to stand when the water comes, and something worth saving when it finally recedes. The bird came back today. This time it sang. And I think I sang with it. If you're still here, still listening, then this story isn't just mine. It's ours. Let it be more than a warning. Let it be a mirror. Because we don't need to wait for the world to drown to change it. The ice hasn't all melted yet. The sky still holds its blue. There's still time to protect what we can, to remember what matters, and to rebuild not just with concrete, but with care. So if this moved you, even a little, don't just scroll on. Share this message, talk about it, act on it however you can, wherever you are. Because silence melts faster than ice, and every voice counts. The future isn't written in rising tides. It's written in what we choose to do now, Let's choose wisely. Let's begin again.